What's up everybody, Mitch here with Fit for Moto. Thanks for checking out another video. As you can tell, we're back at the track. We're at a different location today. We're in Drumheller, Alberta at Dorba MX. The track is unbelievable today. It's like hero dirt out there, so I'm super pumped to get this bike out there and get riding. But today's video is going to be about 5 tips to give you some faster lap times. These aren't things that are crazy hard. They're just a couple things to keep in mind, some things that beginners sometimes forget to do. They're going to help drop your lap times, make you a smoother, faster rider. So with all that said, let's get into it. So tip number 1 for getting faster lap times, becoming a smoother rider, is look further ahead. And you've probably heard that before, but what does that actually mean? When I say look further ahead, you want to pick an exit point on a corner, or you want to be able to look on part of the track that maybe you didn't before. Because a lot of times what happens with beginners is they end up looking over kind of the front of the bike. They end up kind of looking down their front fender, if that makes sense. And that's a huge thing when it comes to overall control of the bike and being smoother. The further that you look ahead, that's generally where your eyes are going to go. It's going to make you a faster rider. And that makes sense, right? Because where you look is where you go. We know that driving a vehicle or anything like that. So capitalize on that by just looking further ahead on the track. So look at the exit of a corner or look further down the whip section, something like that. Believe it or not, looking further ahead allows your mind to make decisions ahead of time. You're gonna be way smoother, way faster, way safer as a rider. So tip number 1, look ahead. Number 2, to drop your lap times, get faster on the bike, is look for corners or look for sections, look for lines that you can flow through. So what do I mean by flow? Well, a lot of times what beginners will do is they have a kind of a start and stop thing that happens. So they'll get going and then they'll stop, and then they get going and then they stop. It kind of ends up being this like herky-jerky thing, if that makes sense. Whereas a lot of the smoother, faster guys, you'll find that they constantly flow around the track. They're hardly on the brakes at all. The bike's never really screaming that much. I mean, sound like it, but it's kind of screaming everywhere. It's not like hard, and then scream, and then hard, if that makes sense. They're kind of just flowing around. So find the lines in the track that you can flow. So an outside to an outside, or inside to inside, but you're nice and flow. And then when you come off the jump, you're smooth on the gas again, and you're flowing. You want to stop any sort of start and stop herky-jerky stuff, particularly when it comes to corners. So when you're coming into a corner, a lot of times what beginners will do is they'll kind of hit that apex and they're braking, hit the apex and then hammer it on and try and shoot off again. Well, the better way to do that is just to brake early, roll in, and gradually start to apply that throttle after your apex. So it's all about finding that flow, the smoothness. If you find that smoothness, you're gonna drop your lap times. Tip number 3 for dropping your lap times is get outside of that main line. And you may have heard me say that before, but specifically what I'm talking about is when you get onto a track that's got a lot of riders or it's not recently been groomed, the main line gets really, really rough, so it gets a lot of braking bumps, a lot of acceleration bumps. Literally just go to the side of that. I'm talking, 6 inches to a foot to the side of that main line. It's gonna drop your lap times a lot because the bike is not gonna get upset so much coming into the corner or coming out of the corner, which means you can get harder on the gas, which also goes back to tip number 2 of being smoother, right? Finding that flow. So a lot of times you'll see, if you watch my GoPros, there'll be a main line and the GoPro makes it smooth, but the bike is all over the place. I literally go to a foot to the side of it. It's completely smooth because everyone's just taking that one line, go to the part where it's smooth and then get into the rut, or then get into the line in the corner. If you find those smooth parts on the track, literally just move over a foot, you'd be amazed by how fast that's going to drop your lap times because the bike isn't upset as much. You can brake better, you can corner better, you can accelerate more. So tip number 3, find the smooth line. Tip number 4 when it comes to dropping your lap times, push that extra little bit before braking. Again, this is something that I see a lot of newer riders do. When they're coming into a section, they're accelerating, they're doing the jumps, whatever that section is, and then they come up to a corner and they look ahead, which is good, right? Tip 1. But what they do is they over anticipate what's coming. So they say, okay, there's a corner coming, I need to start decelling. Instead of just taking that extra 1 or 2 seconds to really accelerate and really get on it, and then start your braking, you have to trust in your brakes a little more. So instead of looking, like you want to look ahead, but instead of anticipating that so far in advance, just stay on it that extra little bit. You will drop your lap times by seconds if you do this on most corners on the track. I'm telling you, it's a huge difference. So yes, you want to brake properly. Yes, you want to anticipate what's coming up. You do want to look ahead, but at the same time, don't over anticipate it. So yeah, there's a corner coming up, I need to slow down, and that's true, you do, but you also don't need to slow down like right now. You can get on the gas a little bit more, push that extra little bit for a second or two, and then start your braking. You'll be able to slow down enough, trust me, it'll work, but you're gonna drop your lap times. Tip number 5 to drop your lap times, when the track gets really rough, if it's not groomed, if it's not just kind of a flat surface, if it's got lots of bumps and stuff like that, like I mentioned, you go to a different line, right? You're finding a different line on the track. But another thing you can do is look for these like weird combinations, kind of like a Marvin Musquin does. Instead of kind of just bulldogging his way through braking bumps or acceleration bumps, what he'll do is he'll find these weird combinations to kind of get through there. So jumping over one and kind of clearing a bunch of them or something like that, or square up a corner and get through those braking bumps or something that a little differently. So you want to get creative with your lines, still while maintaining that flow that I mentioned, but you can create these weird combinations around the track that just kind of get you through all those obstacles a little cleaner. Again, you can brake better, you can accelerate better, which all leads to dropping your lap times. So that's it, 5 tips on how to drop your lap times. If you do all those, I can guarantee you're gonna drop your lap times by quite a bit. None of them are that hard, but they also take a little bit of practice. So don't, be discouraged if you get out there and you're like, I can't figure this out, braking thing and stuff. Trust me, it'll all come. Just keep practicing every time you go out riding. It's gonna help, I think. I hope you liked the video. Hit subscribe button for me, appreciate it. Again, I need to get out here because the track is unbelievable. We'll see you in the next video.